We are completing the Trig worksheet that was given. This is the second question too. All you have to do is punch this into the calculator for 211. Notice that there's a times between 51,5 and cos 18. And between cos and sine there's also a times. Punching it in, we get 40,54. Okay, question 212. Notice there are reciprocals there. You have to use the reciprocals of those cots and those secants and those cosecants. You need to look at reciprocal. If we look on the left hand side, it means secant is equal to 1 over cos theta. So in other words, if these are in the denominator, then it will be the opposite way around. For example, if you look at secant 16,1, notice that it's in the denominator. If you look on the left hand side, you will see the same thing. Secant is in the denominator. So the answer there, if secant is in the denominator, that means it's going to be cosec theta. Notice that cosec theta is really over 1, which means cosec theta is a numerator. Now that it's written over 1, I'm sure you can see that if you see secant 16,1 in the denominator, all you have to do is move that value up and switch it from secant to cos. I moved it to the numerator. In front of it was 1,28. In the numerator we have cotan cot 32,3. Notice that is a reciprocal. This means we can move that to the denominator, but cot will change to tan. Right, so we got that in the denominator. We have cosec also in the denominator. If you look on the left hand side, we can see that cosec on the denominator will become sine theta in the numerator. We are going to move cosec to the numerator. It will become sine. Tan 81,5 degrees will remain on top in the numerator. Punching all that carefully in the numerator on your calculator, do it twice to make sure you get the right number, and then tan 32,3 degrees for the denominator, and write your answers in the fraction. Dividing those two answers on a calculator, we get 1,87, and that's the answer for 212. Moving to 2.2, notice there is a restriction of which quadrant it's in. Notice with the restriction, this means it's in quadrant 1, between 0 and 90 degrees. Drawing our triangle and solving for cos theta, we will divide by 5 on both sides. We now have to write what cos theta is defined as. Cos theta is x over r, so we can fill this information onto the diagram on the right hand side. The radius is 5, x is equal to 3, we are going to have to calculate y. Using Pythagoras theorem, we can solve for y. Notice when we're finding a shorter side, we have to subtract. When finding r, this is the only time that we add. So in this case, we will have to subtract. Substituting r is equal to 5 and substituting being 3, we then can continue with a calculator. We'll get an answer of 4. But when we square root, we get two answers. We get a plus answer and a negative answer. We then have to go back to the diagram and establish would y be positive or negative. Looking at the diagram on the right hand side, do note that y is increasing off the x-axis in a direction of y, positive y. This means y will be positive 4. We're now going to look at the second question of 2.2. Right, so this is actually the first question, but I said the second question. When you get this, this is the first step, 2.2. For all of that, it's normally 2 marks. Notice something is missing. in 2.2. Can you see it? Do you know what it is? Pythagoras is missing. Notice you will have to use the diagram and know the ratios in order to solve this. Don't forget that sine theta is y over r. So look at the diagram and substitute the y value and the r value for sine theta. Notice secant is the opposite of cos, which means cos is normally, in the diagram, it's x over r. So secant will be r over x. So it will be 5 over 3. Simple maths, cancel the 5's, we get 4 over 3. Do pause the video, try 2.2 out. 2.2.2, try it out. Pause the video. Tan theta is y over x. Cot is the reciprocal, x over y. Notice that that is division. Write it out in a simpler form so that you can understand. Then we have to apply the rule for division. Remember, the rule for division is to change divide to times and invert the fraction on the right hand side. In other words, swap the numerator and the denominator of the right hand side. This will be 4 over 3. This rule is for division of fractions, grade 8. Multiplying, we get 16 over 9. Right, 2.3, the first thing to do will be to divide both sides by 3. Use your calculator and you will get that. Notice that that answer in purple is sine theta. We now have to find theta to find out what is the answer for the angle. Second function sine with all that in purple in brackets, and we will get an answer of negative 20 degrees rounded off. Try this one out quickly, see if you can identify it. This is a trig identity. Answer 312. Looking at that question, what is that? Also a trig identity. Does it look familiar? All they did is move the plus tan squared theta to the left hand side. So plus tan squared theta will become negative tan squared theta on the left, leaving a 1 behind on the right hand side. Our answer is 1. As simple as that. Remember that we learned about 90, 180 and 270 on the trig Cartesian plane. And we learned that 180 is pi. 90 therefore will be pi over 360 will be 2 pi. I want you to work out 270 for me. See if you can do it. Using our calculator. Right, let's keep this on the right hand side in mind when doing the next question. We're going to 3.2 on the worksheet. Do pause the video and try this question. Notice sine 270 is not according to the diagram on the right hand side because there's no subtract theta. It's not reduction formula. So sine 270 on the calculator, you can get the answer directly. Sine 270 is minus 1 on the calculator. Notice tan theta will remain there because there's no reduction formula. So tan theta will remain the same. Wherever we see pi, we can put 180 there. And where we see 2 pi, we can put 360 there. So let's start with sine 180 minus theta. Sine 180 minus theta is in quadrant 2. That's the sine quadrant. Sine is positive. Let's look at cos 360 minus theta. Which quadrant will that be in? So that will be, cos will be in quadrant 4. The cos quadrant, it will also be positive. Now we have tan 180 minus theta. That will be quadrant 2. Tan in quadrant 2 is negative. 1 times anything is that number. So negative 1 times tan theta is negative tan theta. I moved the negative tan thetas to the front just so you can see what's going on. Now anything over itself, perfectly over itself, will give us 1. So this means we'll be left with sine theta over cos theta. And from our trig identities, the formula, this will be tan theta.